This video is brought to you by Practical Music Theory for the Rock Guitarist, my new book, which is a comprehensive guide to all aspects of music theory necessary for playing rock guitar. From blues to the cycle of fifths, from understanding and using modes to choosing the right notes for a melodic solo, from pentatonic scales to chord construction and keys. It's all covered in a clear and concise manner. With accompanying video demonstrations, jam tracks and tabs, you'll learn to use the knowledge you gain in accessible ways that make sense for less than the cost of a few guitar lessons. Check out the link in the description for more details. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. Today being Tuesday, under normal circumstances I would be doing a top 5 video of some kind, but I just couldn't narrow today's selection down to a mere 5. It was hard enough narrowing it down to 10. So that's what we're talking about today. As you've probably seen from the thumbnail and the video title, my 10 favourite guitar instrumentals of all time. I've done videos like this where I've talked about my favourite tunes or albums or artists in a particular genre or in from a particular period, a particular decade. But this is the big one. My 10, I should say, favourite guitar instrumental pieces of all time, regardless of genre. Let's see what they are, starting with
Apache by The Shadows. Yeah,
this is the one that really started it all off for me. I've told this story a few times, so I won't bore you with it now, but basically I was being kind of looked after by me granny when I was a toddler, and there was like a freak weather event. The TV went off, and scary thunder and lightning and all that sort of stuff. And the only kind of way that she could entertain me was to put the old long wave radiogram on, and what came on was Apache by The Shadows in some kind of maybe Radio Luxembourg or something like that was broadcasting. I don't know, but I just remember being utterly transfixed by this wonderful, wonderful sound. And, I still get that same gooey, warm feeling inside every time I hear this piece of music. On the off chance that you've been living under, a rock for, decades and you don't know what this sounds like, then go and check out the link in the description. I've linked to all of these pieces of music down there, and maybe there'll be one or two that are new to you. I doubt this one will be, though, but they're all linked down there anyway. Yeah, if I'm choosing my favourite guitar instrumentals, Uncle Hank Marvin has to be on the list with, The Shadows. Apache had to be there. Next,
Heart Song by Giltrap.
Yeah, a big hit in the UK, this one, the year before I started playing guitar. The clip that I've linked down below is from the performance, or the kind of mimed performance of it on the UK BBC show Top of the Pops. It's not really a guitar instrumental in the strictest sense of the word. It's there's guitar on it and it's an instrumental, so I'm kind of stretching it a little bit there. But the main melody is played by a keyboard. But I don't care. This tune, for whatever reason, captured my imagination, and perhaps it was just that image of Gordon Giltrap stood at the front of the stage leading a band, strumming an acoustic guitar, that made, perhaps it was subliminal, perhaps it made me think about wanting to learn to play the guitar, because I certainly did in very short order afterwards. Years and years and years later in the 90s, I was lucky enough to be at a Gordon Giltrap gig, and there was about possibly over 1,000 people in this kind of theatre, and he just sat on a stool on stage with an acoustic guitar and played this song. That was one of the hits that he played, but just regaled us with anecdotes and memories of his kind of professional life and some wonderful, wonderful music. And for about 2 hours, as I say, one guy with one acoustic guitar just held that audience in the palm of the hand. What an entertainer and what a musician. And Heart Song had to be on this list. Next,
Jessica by the Allman Brothers Band.
Possibly best known in the UK as the theme tune to the now defunct TV series Top Gear. I'm pretty sure I knew this tune before Top Gear came along, because despite it becoming this global phenomenon, this big TV franchise across the world. It started off in, I think, the late 70s as just some little kind of consumer magazine program for, kind of motorists, or tucked away in an obscure slot on BBC Two, which is like not the kind of prime time channel over here in the UK. So, but I already knew this tune. It'd be difficult for me to kind of remember the timeline, but I do remember the first time I ever heard that big, long Dickie Betts guitar solo in the middle of it. Rest in peace, Dickie. Wonderful, wonderful musician. I remember just having to stop what I was doing. Sometimes when you hear a piece of music that is just so powerful that it's like, okay, yeah, I can't do this other thing at the moment. I've got to sit and concentrate on this. Jessica by the Allman Brothers Band, that guitar solo, such again, beautifully melodic piece of music, joyful, happy, and some fiercely good guitar playing. And if you've never heard the full version, then once again, link in the description. But that one had to be on the list. Next.
'Cause We've Ended as Lovers by Jeff Beck.
I could have literally picked any tune off the Blow by Blow album. Jeff Beck's done some wonderful albums over the years, or did do some wonderful albums over the years. Again, another player sadly absent these days. Rest in peace, Jeff. But it could have been any song off the Blow by Blow album. Constipated Duck, Scatterbrain, Freeway Jam, all of these, She's a Woman, all of these songs, pieces of music come to mind. But, 'Cause We've Ended as Lovers, that pretty much sums up Jeff's unique touch on the guitar, I think. Just really achingly beautiful playing on this track. And, just utterly fantastic. It could have been any track off that album, as I said, but this is the one I chose. It's the sort of criteria I'm using is like, okay, which one would it be unbearable to never hear again? And I think this is the right one. That's the one that fits that criteria. So yeah, rest in peace, Jeff. Great music. Next.
Sunset by Gary Moore and Cozy Powell.
I came late to the party on this one. There was always going to be a Gary Moore tune on this list. Was it going to be The Loner? Was it going to be The Prophet of the Back to the Blues album? Was it going to be, maybe he's done instrumental versions of Parisian Walkways in the past? Live at the Marquee has I think an instrumental version of it on there, but no. Back when he released, I think in 1989, he released the After the War album. He did an interview with him and Cozy Powell, who was the drummer on the After the War album. Did an interview with Tommy Vance on the BBC Friday Rock Show, and this was one of the tracks that got played during that, I think, 2-hour special that was on there. And again, another one of these pieces of music that makes you just stop what you're doing and listen. Luckily, this was 1989. Luckily, I knew there was a Gary Moore show on the radio, and I had the C90 cassette, play and record, press the button and preserve it for posterity. It just sums up Gary's melodic sensibility and the sort of rough-edged ferociousness of his playing as well. Just encapsulates everything about his unique playing style in one piece of music. And again, if I'm using the criteria, which of these tunes could I not bear to never hear again, then I think it would have to be this one for Gary. Next.
The Supernatural by Peter Green.
Yes, the Beano album, the John Mayall and the Blues Breakers album that featured Eric Clapton, gets a lot of plaudits and a lot of praise, and it is a great album. But for me, a better album is the follow-up album, the one which featured Peter Green. I can't quantify it. I just find myself, I listen to that album more than I listen to the Beano album. And there's a great version of The Stumble on there, the old Freddie King tune. But the standout track is obviously The Supernatural. It inspired Carlos Santana, reportedly, the kind of singing sustain that Peter Green got on that track from what is not that dirty a guitar tone when you listen to it. He's got a little bit of kind of sizzle going on, but it's not, going back to Gary Moore, it's not kind of Gary Moore long note in Parisian Walkways live at the Albert Hall. It's not that kind of level of gain that he's using. But just the way he manages to, presumably using feedback and some form of treble booster, the way he manages to coax those big, long, sustained notes out of it. And just from a technique angle, it's amazing to behold. But then again, you can hear many pieces of music which are technically brilliant that just don't set the hairs on the back of your neck or the goosebumps on your arm alight. But this one does. It's just some of the most emotional, beautiful playing. And if you want to know what all the fuss was about Peter Green, then go and check out this track. It's just his heart and soul go into this piece of music, and it's just jaw-droppingly good. So it had to be on the list. Next.
Hideaway by the Jeff Healey Band.
Yeah, talking about the Beano album, the Eric Clapton, John Mayall Blues Breakers album. One of the tunes on there is the old Freddie King tune Hideaway. And I'd read about the Beano album and been, it had almost achieved this mythological status amongst guitar players. This was like 1988, okay? There's, our access to information and music wasn't what it is these days. So, a monthly guitar magazine was about it, really. And, you're reading about this fantastic John Mayall and the Blues Breakers album. I don't think I'd ever heard it, or I might have heard it in passing, but it hadn't left a lasting impression upon me. But what did make a lasting impression on me was seeing the movie Roadhouse. I think it was about 1989. Patrick Swayze. They've done a remake with Jake Gyllenhaal, but if you go and check out the original, then the Jeff Healey Band feature in this movie, and because I saw the film, I thought, okay, I'm going to go and buy the album by this blind guitar player who's in the movie, Jeff Healey. And I think that was the first time I heard the tune Hideaway, because, it's on that debut album, See the Light. And it's kind of like a guitar duet with, was it Robbie Blunt who did additional guitars on that album? And Jeff and Robbie are trading licks, and it's just, you get the feeling that, it's one of those recordings where you can feel, or probably not the best thing to say talking about Jeff Healey. I was going to say you could feel the eye contact in the room, but you know what I mean? There was obviously a vibe going on, and you certainly, when you listen to the track, you can pick up on that. Just a great bit of foot stamping, tub thumping, barnstorming, blues, boogie guitar playing, and don't get me wrong, I like the Clapton version. I love the Freddie King version. But for me, and I think it's just because it's the first version of a song or a tune that you hear, it often becomes the benchmark that you measure everything else against. And that's certainly it for me. So if you're not familiar with the Jeff Healey version of Hideaway, then go and check it out via the link below. Next.
Scuttle Buttin by Stevie Ray Vaughan.
What a way to open an album. You bought Texas Flood and you like that album. You think, okay, Stevie Ray Vaughan has got a new album out. I'll go and check it out. So you get the bus into town and you pick up the vinyl or the CD at the record shop, and then you get it home and then you put it on and then you lower the needle onto the turntable and you're assaulted with that particular riff. And it's like, from that moment on, the entire album, it's just like, okay, Stevie, you had me at Scuttle Buttin. Just the ferocity and fluency of Stevie's guitar playing on that track is just immense. It remains to this day one of my favourite ever opening tracks from an album. Blues guitar riffs. It's just perfect. It's only short, maybe a couple of minutes long, but, what a couple of minutes that is. What a fun ride it is. Stevie at his powerful, most awesome, barnstorming best. Go and check it out. Scuttle, Buttin. Something a bit different next. Let's see what it is.
Into the Arena by Michael Shanker.
Yeah, now one of the tunes that we always used to refer to as apprenticeship tunes. Back in the sort of amongst the gigging musicians that I used to circulate with was Doctor Doctor by UFO. Because it's one of those songs that everybody knows, or you can pick up in kind of, very little time at all. And if you're playing in any kind of rock covers band, it's just an easy kind of one to throw into a set because you can have it learned and rehearsed in, kind of 10 minutes, usually. But it was that Strangers in the Night album. Well, actually, it was some kind of rock compilation or chart compilation album that my grandmother got me one year for either Christmas or birthday that had Doctor Doctor on it. Then I learned that sort of introduced me to Michael Shanker's playing. Then I got the Strangers in the Night album, the live UFO album, and then I started kind of pulling at that thread and discovering Michael Shanker's music. And yeah, I mean, just that insistent riff of it's almost got like a Celtic feel to it in a way, but somehow not. You could imagine that riff being something that Thin Lizzy might have done something with and made it sound incredibly Irish. But here it just sounds, I don't know, just it doesn't have that Celtic kind of feel to it. And then when it breaks out into that absolutely heartrending melody at the end, it's just like, I didn't see that coming, but yet it kind of fits beautifully. Again, if you're not familiar, if I'm just talking gibberish here and you don't know what I'm talking about, go and check out the tune. There's a link to it down below. Incredible stuff. Michael Shanker proving that, technique and melody don't have to be mutually exclusive. Beautiful melodic guitar playing, really some quite shreddy sort of stuff going on in there as well. What can I tell you? I like the tune. That's why it's on the list. Let's see what's last.
Surfing with the Alien by Joe Satriani.
Yeah, there had to be something in here from Joe. I almost picked The Crush of Love, which was the first Joe Satriani tune that I ever heard on one of those little kind of tear-out records that used to come with Guitar Player magazine. Loved that. Enjoyed reading the interview with Joe. He seemed like a kind of a really kind of cool guy, nice bloke, sort of bloke you'd go for a pint with. So obviously I went out and bought Surfing with the Alien, or I went out to the local record shop and asked them to order it because it wasn't the kind of thing that you'd regularly find on the racks of shops like HMV and Our Price and places like that, the kind of usual record shops that we had in the late 80s. It was about 87 or 88 when I bought this album. And the whole album, again, what I was talking about earlier with Michael Shanker, melody doesn't have to be devoid of shreddy technique, and shreddy technique doesn't have to be devoid of melody. And this whole album is a testament to that. Listening to the Surfing with the Alien album now, it does sound a little bit dated in terms of its production. You can tell that you're not hearing a real drummer, for example. But it doesn't matter. It's still great music. And just the way that the tune fades in out of like this kind of chatter of babble, and just wham, straight into that bluesy kind of riff. This is another thing about Surfing with the Alien. It struck me straight away that, it was a blues. It had a lot of blues sensibility to it, and none of the shreddy kind of 80s kind of guitar players that were around at the time were doing much that sounded bluesy. Yngwie certainly didn't sound bluesy. Tony McAlpine didn't. Paul Gilbert and other guys like that weren't doing anything that had that kind of that bluesy sensibility to it. But to hear Joe come along and playing turbocharged, kind of nitrous oxide powered blues, it was refreshing. And you know, one of those pieces of music where you just listen to it and it puts a big daft grin on your face? Surfing with the Alien does that for me. So, you know, again, using the criteria I mentioned earlier, you know, which of these tunes could I not stand to never hear again? Well, Surfing with the Alien. It was, you know, my life would be poorer for not having that in it from this day forth. So there you go, folks. Those are my top 10 guitar instrumental tunes. Let me know what you think of my list, and if you have a list of your own, chuck it in the comments section below. And that is the video for today, folks. Hope you've enjoyed my reminiscences and ramblings here. And if that's the case, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already done so. And why not drop me a like as well while you're at it. Don't forget the live stream every Friday, 5 PM UK time. We drink beer and talk about music and guitars and whatever else crops up, basically. It's a great way to kick off the weekend, and I'd love to see you there if you can make it. But for now, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Look after yourselves, folks. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Bye for now.